Part 1. The Galactic Council's ultimatum. Captain Day-Wan stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the main screen as Ambassador Ji-Woo faced the Galactic Council. The view was being broadcast across every human ship in orbit around the Council's homeworld. His crew sat in silence, their faces tight with anger. The Council chamber was enormous, built to house representatives from 12 ancient alien races. Each species had held power in the galaxy for thousands of years, before humanity even discovered fire. They sat on elevated platforms looking down at the single human woman standing in the center of the floor. Ji-Woo wore her formal ambassador's uniform, her back straight and her voice steady. But Day-Wan could see the tremor in her hands. She had been arguing for 3 hours now. "The Vrelnath attacked our colony first," Ji-Woo said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "We have provided evidence. Sensor logs. Survivor testimony. Our defense was justified under Council law." The Council's speaker, a massive creature with 6 arms and gray skin like stone, made a sound that the translator rendered as dismissive laughter. "Defense? You destroyed 17 Vrelnath warships. You killed thousands of their warriors. This was not defense. This was human aggression. They came to raid our colony," Ji-Woo shot back. "They fired on civilian structures. We defended our people. And in doing so, you have disrupted the peace," another council member said. This one resembled a floating mass of tentacles, its voice like wind through caves. "The Vrelnath Empire has filed a formal complaint. They demand reparations." Day-Wan felt his jaw clench. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Hana, muttered something under her breath that the computer didn't translate. He didn't need translation to understand her anger. "Reparations?" Ji-Woo's composure cracked slightly. "For what? For defending ourselves?" "For your excessive response," the speaker said. "The Council has reviewed the case. We find that while the Vrelnath may have initiated contact, humanity's response was disproportionate and barbaric. Therefore, we rule in favor of the Vrelnath claim." The chamber fell silent. Even the constant background noise of the translation system seemed to quiet. "What claim?" Ji-Woo asked, though Day-Wan could see she already knew. They all knew. This had been decided before the hearing even began. Humanity will surrender 40% of its colonial holdings to the Vrelnath Empire, the speaker announced. "This will serve as compensation for your aggressive actions. You have 90 days to evacuate these colonies and transfer control." Day-Wan watched Ji-Woo's face go pale. 40%? That was over 30 colonies. Millions of people, generations of work, all being handed to the empire that had attacked them first. "This is insane," Ji-Woo said quietly, then louder. "This is insane. You're rewarding them for attacking us." "We are maintaining peace," the speaker replied. "Humanity is young, violent. You do not understand how civilized species conduct themselves. This ruling will teach you restraint." "Restraint?" Ji-Woo's voice rose. "They attacked us. We defended ourselves within the law." "You defended yourselves like savages," the tentacled council member said. "We have reviewed your battle tactics. Ramming maneuvers, self-destructive attacks, refusing to accept surrender. These are not the actions of a civilized species." "Because we actually fought to win?" Ji-Woo asked incredulously. "Because you fought without honor," the speaker said. "The Vrelnath fleet offered terms of surrender to your defenders. Your people responded by ramming damaged ships into their vessels. This is barbarism." On the bridge of the Indomitable, Hana spoke up. "Sir, with respect, they wanted us to surrender so they could take the colony without a fight." "What did they expect?" Day-Wan didn't answer. He was watching Ji-Woo, watching her realize that nothing she said would matter. The Council had already made up their minds. Humanity was too violent, too young, too uncivilized. This was a lesson, a punishment for daring to defend themselves effectively. "If we refuse?" Ji-Woo asked. The chamber grew colder. The speaker leaned forward on his platform. "Then the Council will be forced to intervene," he said slowly. "We will send peacekeepers to ensure compliance. For your own good, of course, to protect you from yourselves." "That's an invasion," Ji-Woo said flatly. "That is peacekeeping," the speaker corrected. "But let us hope it does not come to that. 90 days, Ambassador. We trust humanity will make the civilized choice." The transmission cut off. The bridge of the Indomitable remained silent for a long moment. "Captain?" Hana asked quietly. "Orders?" Day-Wan took a breath. "Plot a course back to Earth. Maximum speed." As the ship's engines powered up, Daiwan opened a secure channel to Earth's military command. Admiral Taeyang's face appeared on his screen within seconds. "You watched?" Taewon asked. "Everyone watched," Taeyang replied. His face was hard, expressionless. "How long until you reach Earth?" 4 days at maximum speed. "Come straight to headquarters when you arrive," Taeyang said. "We're calling an emergency council. All fleet commanders, all defense chiefs, all colonial governors. Like, what are we going to do?" Daewon asked. Taeyang was quiet for a moment. In the background, Daewon could hear other voices, other conversations. Military personnel rushing through corridors. The sound of a civilization preparing for something. "That depends," Taeyang finally said. "Tell me, Captain. How long have you been in uniform?" 23 years, sir. "And in all that time, how many fights have you won by following your opponent's rules?" Daewon felt something cold settle in his chest. "None, sir." "Exactly," Taeyang said. "The council thinks we're barbarians playing at civilization. They think we're children who need to be taught lessons. Maybe they're right, sir. Maybe we've been pretending too long," Taeyang continued. "Playing their games, following their rules, being civilized." He paused. "And where has it gotten us?" On another screen, Daewon could see Jiwoo leaving the council building. She was surrounded by alien security forces, being escorted like a criminal, the woman who had spent 5 years trying to make humanity respectable in the eyes of the galaxy. 90 days, Taeyang said. "In 90 days, they expect us to surrender a third of our people, to reward the empire that attacked us, because we fought too well. Because we were too barbaric." His voice dropped lower. "So here's my question, Captain. What happens if we stop pretending to be civilized?" Daewon looked around his bridge. At Hana, who was already pulling up tactical data. At his crew, who had watched their ambassador be humiliated. At the faces of men and women who had joined the military to protect humanity, only to be told that protecting humanity too effectively was barbaric. "I don't know, sir," Daewon answered, "but I think we're about to find out." "Good," Taeyang said, "because I'm done pretending. Earth is done pretending. If they want monsters, Captain, then maybe it's time we stop disappointing them." 4 days, don't be late, the transmission ended. The Indomitable and her escort fleet turned away from the Council world, accelerating toward Earth. Behind them, the galaxy continued to spin, peaceful and civilized and completely unaware that something fundamental had just changed. In her quarters, Jiwoo sat alone, still wearing her ambassador's uniform. She had sent a single message to Earth's government. It contained only 4 words. "Diplomacy has failed us. 90 days until the deadline. 90 days until humanity had to decide whether to submit or resist." But in the minds of those who had watched the Council's arrogance, the decision was already being made. The universe wanted humanity to be civilized, to follow the rules, to know their place. Perhaps it was time to teach the universe what happened when you pushed humans too far. Perhaps it was time to stop pretending. Part 2. The breaking point. 45 days had passed since the Council's ultimatum. Earth's government had been silent, neither accepting nor refusing the terms. The galaxy watched and waited. The Vrelnath Empire grew impatient. The agricultural colony on Harvest Moon was home to 200,000 people. They grew food for 6 other human colonies. The settlement had no military defenses because Council law forbade weapons on agricultural worlds. It was meant to be safe. When the Vrelnath ships appeared in orbit, the colonists tried to evacuate. They had 40 minutes of warning. It wasn't enough. The orbital bombardment lasted 6 minutes. The Vrelnath targeted the shelters first, then the residential districts, then everything else. When they were done, Harvest Moon was a burning wasteland. 200,000 people dead, all of them civilians. The Vrelnath admiral sent a message to the Galactic Council. "A regrettable accident," he claimed. "Our weapon systems malfunctioned during a routine patrol. We offer our deepest apologies." The Council accepted the explanation. They offered Earth their thoughts and concerns. They suggested that this tragedy made it even more important for humanity to accept the Council's ruling. To prevent further accidents, the speaker said. Jiwoo had returned to Earth after her humiliation at the Council. She had resigned as ambassador, unable to continue pretending that diplomacy would work. Now she sat in a conference room deep beneath Earth's capital, facing the people who actually held power. Counselor Byung-ho led Earth's Security Council. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. Next to him sat Admiral Tae Yang, whose expression hadn't changed since the news from Harvest Moon arrived. Around the table were military leaders, intelligence directors, and colonial representatives. All of them looked at Jiwoo. "Tell us," Byung-ho said quietly, "in your professional opinion as someone who spent 5 years dealing with them, will the council ever respect us?" Jiwoo had spent the last month thinking about this question. She had reviewed every interaction, every negotiation, every attempt at diplomacy. She knew the answer. "No," she said. "They see us as children. Violent, barbaric children who need to be controlled. Nothing we do will change that. We could follow every rule perfectly for 100 years and they would still see us as lesser." "Why?" someone asked. "Because we're effective," Jiwoo answered. "When the Vrelnath raided our colony, they expected us to surrender or negotiate. Instead, we destroyed their fleet. We fought back hard and won. That scared them." She paused. "The council doesn't respect civilization. They respect fear. And right now they don't fear us. They just think we're dangerous animals that need to be caged." Admiral Tae Yang spoke up. "And the Vrelnath?" "This accident today? A test?" Jiwoo said. "They wanted to see if we would respond. If we would break before the deadline. And when we didn't." She gestured helplessly. "They got bored and decided to push harder." 200,000 people, someone said quietly. "Gone. And the council calls it an accident." Byung-ho looked around the table. "Options?" "We could accept the terms," one of the colonial governors suggested. "Give them the 40%. Save the rest, until they demand more," Tae Yang said. "And they will. Today proved that. They can kill us without consequences. Why would they ever stop?" "We could fight," another voice said. "Refuse the ultimatum. Defend our colonies. Against the entire council?" the governor asked. "They have thousands of ships. Dozens of races. We'd be obliterated." "Maybe," Tae Yang said. "Or maybe not." Everyone turned to look at him. The admiral stood and walked to a wall screen. He input a code and files began appearing. Ship designs, weapon systems, battle plans, all marked with the highest security classifications. "For 30 years, Tae Yang said, we've been following council rules, building our ships to their specifications, using approved weapons, fighting according to their codes of warfare." He pulled up an image of a standard human warship. "These ships are designed to fight fairly. To be civilized," he swiped to another image. This ship looked nothing like the first. It was smaller, angular, covered in strange equipment. "This is what we've been building in secret. Ships designed to fight dirty. To win at any cost, Admiral," Byung-ho said carefully. "Those weapons were banned by the council." "Yes," Tae Yang agreed. "Banned because they're too effective. Too brutal. Too uncivilized." He looked around the room. Everything that wins wars they made illegal. He pulled up more files. Biological weapons tailored to specific alien physiologies. Stealth systems that violated sensor treaties. Self-replicating mines. Psychological warfare programs. Dozens of weapons and tactics that the council had forbidden. "We've been pretending," Tae Yang said. "Playing by their rules. Being good civilized humans. And today 200,000 of our people burned alive while the council offered thoughts and concerns." His voice went cold. "I'm done pretending. If we use these weapons," Byung-ho said slowly, "there's no going back. The council will see it as an act of war." "They already see us as barbarians," Jiwoo said. All eyes turned to her. "That's what they think we are. Violent primitives. So why are we trying so hard to prove them wrong? Maybe we should prove them right instead." "You're suggesting we become the monsters they fear?" Byung-ho asked. "I'm suggesting we survive," Jiwoo replied. "The council respects fear, not diplomacy. The Vrelnath understand violence, not negotiation. We can keep trying to be civilized and watch our colonies burn one by one. Or we can show the galaxy what happens when you push humans too far." Tae Yang brought up another file. It showed a man's face, Chief Engineer Sang Woo, one of humanity's top weapons designers. He's been working on something special. Something that will send a message. "What kind of message?" someone asked. "The kind that makes them think twice before killing our people," Tae Yang said. "The kind that reminds them why humans evolved as persistence predators. We don't give up. We don't surrender. And we never ever forget." Byung-ho was quiet for a long moment. Outside the conference room, Earth continued its daily life. People went to work. Children went to school. Nobody knew that in this room their leaders were deciding whether to start a war with the entire galaxy. If we do this, Byung-ho finally said, we need to be certain. Once we cross this line, we can't uncross it. We're certain, Tae-yang said. The council will never respect us. The Vrelnath will keep killing us. Our only choice is submission or resistance. And I, for one, am tired of bowing. Around the table, heads began to nod. One by one, the leaders of Earth's military and government made their choice. It wasn't about right or wrong anymore. It wasn't about being civilized or barbaric. It was about survival. Byung-ho took a deep breath. Then we refuse the ultimatum. We defend our colonies, and we show the galaxy what humanity really is when you take away our restraints. How long do we have? Ji-woo asked. 45 days until the deadline, Tae-yang said. But I'm not waiting that long. Captain Dae-won and his fleet are already in position at the edge of Vrelnath space. I'm giving them the order tonight. What order? Tae-yang's smile was cold and hard. To stop pretending we're civilized. To fight the way humans actually fight. To remind the Vrelnath why Earth's history is written in blood. He pulled up one final file. It showed a battle plan. Not the kind of clean, honorable battle the Council approved. This was brutal, efficient, designed to maximize enemy casualties and psychological impact. We're going to hurt them, Tae-yang said quietly. We're going to hurt them so badly that every species in the galaxy hears about it. And they're going to learn a very simple lesson. What lesson? Byung-ho asked. That humans are very, very good at being monsters when we need to be, Tae-yang answered. And right now the universe needs to see our teeth. In orbit around Earth, the fleet began to mobilize. Ships moved out of dock, their crews receiving sealed orders. Weapons systems that had been hidden were now being activated. Soldiers who had trained in secret were being deployed. 45 days until the deadline. But humanity wasn't going to wait. The galaxy wanted them to be civilized. The Council wanted them to submit. The Vrelnath wanted them to burn. Instead, humanity was going to remind the universe of a very important fact. They were apex predators, pack hunters, persistence killers who chased their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. And the hunt was about to begin. Part 3. Unleashing the Monster Day 91. The deadline had passed. Earth had sent its response to the Galactic Council. A single word, no. The Vrelnath Empire mobilized immediately. 300 warships, the largest fleet they had assembled in a century. They called it a peacekeeping force. Their mission? Pacify the human colonies and teach Earth the cost of defiance. The fleet was commanded by High Marshal Venth, a warrior who had won dozens of battles following the honored traditions of galactic warfare. He expected the humans to meet him in open combat, ship to ship, honor against honor, the way civilized species fought. Captain Dae-won had other plans. The Indomitable waited in the darkness beyond the Vrelnath fleet's sensor range. With him were 50 ships, small and fast and equipped with technology that violated every council treaty. His tactical officer, Hana, monitored the enemy positions with cold precision. They're moving in formation, she reported. Standard battle array. They expect us to meet them head-on. Are they broadcasting their battle honors? Dae-won asked. Yes, sir, announcing their glorious intentions, offering us terms of honorable surrender. Dae-won smiled without humor. How civilized of them. Launch the drones. Across the fleet, thousands of small drones deployed. Each one was barely larger than a basketball, almost invisible to sensors. They spread out through space like a swarm of insects, positioning themselves around the Vrelnath fleet. The Vrelnath didn't notice. They were too busy maintaining their proud formation, broadcasting their speeches about honor and duty. Drones in position, Hana reported. Enemy fleet is concentrated in a space approximately 5,000 kilometers across. Perfect target. Execute Phase 1, Dae-won ordered. The drones activated simultaneously. They weren't weapons themselves. They were jammers, signal disruptors, sensor ghosts. In an instant, the Vrelnath fleet was blind. Their communications died. Their sensors showed phantom ships in every direction. Their formation collapsed into chaos. That was when the human ships attacked. They didn't come from one direction. They came from everywhere at once, materializing out of the darkness, and they didn't fight fair. The first Vrelnath ship to die never fired a shot. A human vessel appeared next to it, too close for weapons to target, and simply rammed into its reactor section at maximum speed. Both ships exploded. The human crew had evacuated seconds before impact. The second ship fell to a new kind of missile. It bypassed shields and bored through the hull, then released a biological agent inside. The agent was harmless to humans, but deadly to Vrelnath physiology. The crew died in minutes, choking on their own blood. The third ship tried to surrender. They broadcast the traditional codes, expecting the battle to pause while terms were negotiated. Instead, a human torpedo ignored their white flags and detonated against their bridge. High Marshal Venth watched his fleet dying around him and realized something terrible. The humans weren't following any rules at all. They refused surrender, his communications officer shouted. They're killing ships that have powered down weapons. That violates the Articles of War, someone else cried. Then fight back, Venth ordered. All ships break formation, engage independently. But the humans had planned for that too. As the Vrelnath fleet scattered, they found themselves facing new horrors. Mines that had been placed days ago, waiting silently. Fake distress signals that lured ships into ambushes. Human vessels that pretended to be damaged, then exploded when enemy ships came close. And then there was the psychological warfare. Major Yunji sat in a secure facility on Earth, watching the battle unfold through live feeds. Her job wasn't to destroy ships, it was to destroy minds. Begin broadcast, she ordered. Every Vrelnath ship suddenly received the same transmission. It showed footage from their agricultural colony raid. The burning buildings, the dying civilians, the children. But the video had been edited, enhanced, made more visceral and terrible. Then it showed what humans had done in response. Battle footage from the current fight, but exaggerated. Human ships that seemed invincible. Vrelnath warriors dying in creative and horrible ways. Images designed to terrify. And over it all, a simple message in perfect Vrelnath language. You killed our children. Now we kill you. This is mercy, compared to what comes next. The broadcast repeated every 30 seconds. Ship after ship received it. Vrelnath warriors, raised on honor and tradition, found themselves fighting an enemy that didn't care about honor. That fought dirty. That used fear as a weapon. Ships began to break away from the battle. Not retreating in formation, but fleeing in panic. Technician Minho worked from another facility, flooding galactic networks with propaganda. He had studied human history, all the ways humans had fought psychological wars throughout the centuries. Now he adapted those techniques for an alien audience. Videos of human soldiers training, edited to make them look superhuman. Fake intelligence reports suggesting Earth had weapons that could destroy entire planets. Intercepted communications that were actually fabrications, showing humanity planning to take the fight to every council world. The galaxy began to watch in horror. This wasn't how wars were supposed to be fought. This was savage, uncivilized, monstrous. It was working. Back in the battle, Captain Suwan commanded one of humanity's new ghost ships. His vessel had no transponder, no identification, nothing that could be traced. It appeared on sensors as debris one moment and as a warship the next. He led his squadron through the chaos of the Vrelnath fleet, targeting command ships. They used weapons that the Council had banned centuries ago. Nerve gas that seeped through life support systems, electromagnetic pulses that fried organic brain tissue, nanomachines that dissolved hull plating. They're trying to surrender again, his weapons officer reported. The whole central formation is powering down. Ignore it, Suwan said coldly. They didn't accept surrender at Harvest Moon. Fire at will. His crew hesitated only for a moment. Then they obeyed. They had all lost friends, family, loved ones to Vrelnath raids. This wasn't murder. This was justice. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, only 12 Vrelnath ships escaped. 288 were destroyed or disabled. The casualties were total. Over 300,000 Vrelnath warriors dead. Human casualties, 4,000. Most of them from ramming. Attacks where crews had voluntarily sacrificed themselves. High Marshal Venth was among the survivors. His ship, damaged and limping, managed to jump to safety. He immediately sent a report to the Galactic Council. "The humans fight without honor," he wrote. "They use forbidden weapons. They refuse surrender. They employ terror tactics. They are monsters wearing the mask of civilization. And that mask has fallen away." The council received his report in stunned silence. They had expected a police action, a quick demonstration of power to bring humanity to heel. Instead, they were looking at the worst military disaster in Vrelnath history, and the humans were just getting started. On Earth, Admiral Taeyang watched the battle reports with satisfaction. Then he activated communication channels to every human military unit throughout the galaxy. "Phase 1 is complete," he announced. "The galaxy now knows we won't submit. Phase 2 begins immediately. I want ghost ships on every major trade route. I want intelligence operations on every council world. I want every alien leader to go to sleep wondering if we're coming for them." Next to him, Jiwoo watched the news feeds from across the galaxy. Alien news networks were in chaos. Some called for humanity's complete destruction. Others were questioning whether the council had made a terrible mistake. Fear was spreading like wildfire, and fear, as Jiwoo had learned, was the only language the galaxy really understood. "They're calling us monsters," she said quietly. "Good," Taeyang replied. "Let them. Better to be feared than respected. Better to be monsters than victims." "And if we lose ourselves in the process?" Jiwoo asked. "If we really become the monsters they fear?" Taeyang was quiet for a moment. Then he gestured to a screen showing images from Harvest Moon, the burnt buildings, the memorial markers for 200,000 dead. "We became monsters the moment they forced us to choose between survival and civilization," he said. "They made this choice for us. Now they get to live with the consequences." Across the galaxy, the news spread. Humanity had won its first battle, not through superior numbers or technology, but through sheer, ruthless brutality, through a willingness to do whatever it took to win. The council convened an emergency session. They had three options: negotiate, escalate, or surrender to humanity's demands. They chose to escalate. 3 council races pledged their fleets to destroy Earth, 2,000 ships total, enough to overwhelm any defense. They didn't understand yet, didn't realize what they had unleashed, didn't comprehend that humans had spent their entire evolution learning to fight dirty, to use every advantage, to never give up. The galaxy wanted humanity to be civilized, to follow rules, to know their place. Instead, humanity had remembered something important, something buried beneath 30 years of pretending. They were predators, pack hunters, and the pack had just tasted blood. The Galactic Council had existed for 3,000 years. In all that time, no species had ever challenged their authority. Until now. 3 council races pledged their fleets to punish humanity. The Vrelnath wanted revenge. The Krell saw humans as a threat to order. The Torath believed they had a duty to civilize the barbarians. Together they assembled 2,000 warships. It was the largest military force in galactic history. They called it the Peacekeeping Armada. Their mission: destroy Earth's ability to make war, occupy the colonies, and bring humanity under direct council control. They gave themselves 6 months to prepare. That was their first mistake. Director Haewon ran Earth's intelligence network from a bunker complex that officially didn't exist. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind that worked 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Her job was to know everything about everyone, and right now she was feeding the council exactly what she wanted them to know. "Report," she said to her team. Agent Kyung-min appeared on the main screen. She was deep undercover on one of the council worlds, working as a trade administrator. Nobody suspected the quiet human woman of being a spy. "The Krell are having supply problems," Kyung-min reported. "Their fleet is ready, but they're struggling to coordinate with the Vrelnath. Cultural differences. The Torath won't even share tactical data with either of them." "Good," Haewon said. "Keep feeding them intelligence reports about our fleet strength. Exaggerate our numbers in some areas, downplay them in others. I want them confused about what we actually have." Another screen lit up. This agent was on a Vrelnath military base working as a maintenance technician. The Vrelnath are pushing for an immediate attack. They're angry about the losses. But the Krell want to wait until all forces are ready. Encourage that division, Haiwan ordered. Plant rumors that the Vrelnath are planning to take all the glory. Make the Krell suspicious. This was the war that the Council didn't see. The quiet war of information and manipulation. While they prepared their armada, humanity was tearing apart their unity from the inside. But intelligence wasn't enough. Earth needed to buy time. So Admiral Taeyang unleashed the ghost ships. Captain Suwan's squadron had grown. Now he commanded 50 vessels, all of them invisible to traditional sensors. They didn't fight in large battles. They appeared, struck, and vanished. A Krell supply convoy disappeared. All 12 ships gone in the night. No distress signals. No survivors. Just empty space where a fleet used to be. A Torath military installation went dark. When reinforcements arrived 3 days later, they found the base intact but every living thing inside dead. No wounds. No signs of struggle. Just death. A Vrelnath admiral was assassinated in his own quarters on his own flagship. The ship was surrounded by guards. No one saw anything. The admiral was simply found dead, with a message written on his wall in his own blood. We see you. The ghost ships were everywhere and nowhere. The council races couldn't protect their supply lines, couldn't secure their bases, couldn't even keep their commanders safe. Fear spread through the armada. Soldiers who had been eager for glory now jumped at shadows. Supply officers hoarded resources, afraid their convoys would be next. Commanders second-guessed their security, knowing that humans could strike anywhere. And then there was Earth itself. General Wu Jin commanded Earth's planetary defense. He had 6 months to turn humanity's homeworld into a fortress. He intended to use every second. The moon became a weapons platform. Mars became a military base. The asteroid belt became the largest minefield in known space. Every station, every satellite, every piece of space debris was weaponized. They'll come through here, Wu Jin said, pointing to a star chart. It's the shortest route, the most logical approach. His staff nodded. They had studied every possible attack vector, planned for every contingency. So we'll make it a trap, Wu Jin continued. They'll see our defenses and think they can overwhelm them through sheer numbers. They won't realize they're flying into a kill zone until it's too late. Chief Engineer Sang Wu stood beside him, looking pleased with himself. The new system is ready. When they arrive, we'll give them a demonstration they'll never forget. What does it do? Someone asked. Sang Wu smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It disables safety systems on their ships, remotely. Their reactors will still work, but the fail-safes will be gone. One wrong move, one minor malfunction, and... He made an exploding gesture with his hands. That's horrifying, someone said. That's survival, Sang Wu replied. They're coming to destroy our world. I'm going to make them afraid to press a single button. While Earth fortified itself, Director Haiwan's intelligence network made a discovery. Agent Kyung-min had infiltrated a council security meeting. What she heard changed everything. She sent an encrypted message back to Earth. Haiwan read it 3 times, her face growing paler with each reading. Get me Admiral Taeyang, she ordered. Immediately. When the Admiral appeared on screen, Haiwan didn't waste time. The Armada isn't coming to occupy us. They're coming to destroy us, completely. They're going to glass Earth and every human colony. No invasion, no occupation, just extinction. Taeyang's expression didn't change. Evidence? Recording from a classified council meeting. They've decided we're too dangerous to exist. The public story will be that we forced them to use extreme measures, but the reality is they're planning genocide. When? Taeyang asked. 4 months. As soon as their fleet is ready. Taeyang was quiet for a long moment. Then he opened a communication channel to every human military commander, every colonial governor, every ship captain. Change your plans, he announced. We're not waiting for them to come to us. We're going to them. Captain Daewon, now promoted to admiral after his victory against the Vrelnath, led the offensive. His fleet of 300 ships moved through council space like a storm. They didn't fight fair. They didn't target military installations. They targeted infrastructure. A major Krell shipyard was destroyed. A Torath fuel depot went up in flames. A Vrelnath communications hub was reduced to scrap. Each attack was surgical, brutal, and designed to cripple the enemy's ability to make war. "They're calling us terrorists," Hana reported from the tactical station. She was Day One's second in command now. "Let them," Day One replied. "We tried being civilized. It didn't work." But the attack served another purpose. Each strike forced the Council to divert resources to protection. Each destroyed facility delayed their armada. Each moment of fear bought Earth more time. And time was what humanity needed most. Back on Earth, Wu Jin was completing his preparations. The planet was now protected by weapons that made Council treaties look like suggestions. Orbital cannons, gravity wells, automated defense drones, stealth mines, and Sang Wu's masterpiece, the reactor destabilizer. "They'll have to come through all of this to reach us," Wu Jin told his staff. "And every meter they advance will cost them blood." "What if they just bombard us from long range?" someone asked. "Glass the planet without ever coming close." Wu Jin smiled grimly. "Then they better have perfect aim. Because if even one of our ships survives, we'll spend the rest of eternity hunting them. Every Council world, every colony, every station. We'll burn it all down and salt the Earth behind us." It wasn't a bluff. Every human in the military knew the score. If Earth fell, there would be no surrender. No negotiation. Just revenge. The Council was beginning to understand this. Their intelligence services were reading human communications. They saw the preparations, the fortifications, the absolute refusal to surrender. Some Council members began to question the plan. "Perhaps we should negotiate," one suggested. "Negotiate with barbarians?" The speaker replied. "They've killed thousands of our people, destroyed billions in resources. They must be stopped. But at what cost?" Another Council member asked. "They're willing to die rather than submit. How many of our people are willing to die to make them submit?" That was the question nobody wanted to answer. The Council races had been at peace for centuries. Their populations were soft, comfortable, unused to real war. Meanwhile, humanity had spent its entire history fighting. War was in their blood. The Armada continued its preparations, but doubt was spreading. Soldiers wondered if they would return home. Commanders questioned whether victory was possible. Supply officers calculated that even if they won, the cost would be catastrophic. 4 months until the invasion. But now both sides knew the truth. This wouldn't be a quick peacekeeping action. This would be total war, brutal, ugly, with no rules and no mercy. The galaxy watched in growing horror. The civilized races had always believed that their way was superior. That honor and tradition made them strong. That following the rules was what separated them from animals. Humanity was teaching them a different lesson. Rules only mattered if both sides agreed to follow them. Honor was a luxury you couldn't afford when someone was trying to exterminate you. And sometimes being civilized just meant being the first to die. Agent Kyung Min sent one final message before her cover was blown. "They're scared. The Council is scared. They won't admit it. But every race is calculating whether humanity is worth the cost. The Armada will come, but it won't be unified. It won't be certain. And that's when we strike." Heiwan read the message and smiled. Fear, division, doubt. These were weapons as powerful as any gun. The Council wanted to destroy humanity to protect their civilization. But in the process, they were learning what humans had always known. Civilization was fragile, and monsters were very, very good at breaking fragile things. The Armada arrived at Earth's solar system 6 months after the ultimatum. 2,000 ships from 3 Council races, all coming to end humanity's defiance. They expected to find a desperate defense. They found a trap. Admiral Daewon commanded the human fleet from his flagship. Around him floated 300 vessels, all that remained of humanity's military after months of raids and strikes. Against 2,000 enemy ships, it looked like suicide. That was the point. "They're entering the outer system," Hana reported. "The Vrelnath fleet is in the lead. They're eager." "Of course they are," Daewon said quietly. "Let them come." The Vrelnath commander saw the human fleet and smiled. This would be quick. A chance to avenge their earlier humiliation. He ordered his ships forward at maximum speed. That was when the asteroid belt activated. Thousands of rocks that had looked like normal asteroids suddenly lit up. They weren't rocks. They were mines, weapons platforms, and automated gun emplacements. All of them came online at once. The leading Vrelnath ships ran directly into the kill zone. Explosions tore through their formation. Ships that survived the mines found themselves targeted by weapons they couldn't see. The asteroids themselves opened up, revealing hidden cannons. First wave is down, Hana reported. 73 enemy ships destroyed. The rest are pulling back. The Krell fleet moved next. They were more cautious, sending drones ahead to clear the mines. It was a smart move. It also took time. While they carefully advanced, human ghost ships appeared throughout the armada. Not to fight, just to cause chaos. They fired a few shots, destroyed a supply ship, then vanished before anyone could respond. The Torath fleet, positioned at the rear, started taking casualties without even entering the battle. Their commanders panicked and demanded protection. Resources that should have been pushing forward were instead turned to guard duty. General Wu Jin watched from Earth's command center. Phase 1 complete. They're scattered and confused. Begin Phase 2. On Mars, massive railguns opened fire. The projectiles weren't aimed at ships. They were aimed at empty space. But they were moving at a significant fraction of light speed, and space wasn't as empty as it looked. The projectiles hit debris that human engineers had carefully positioned over months. The debris shattered, creating clouds of high-velocity fragments that spread across the Armada's path. Any ship trying to advance would fly directly into a wall of metal moving at incredible speeds. The Council fleet stopped. Their commanders conferred. They had lost over 200 ships and hadn't even reached the inner system yet. This was supposed to be easy. That was when Chief Engineer Sang-Woo activated his masterpiece. The reactor destabilizer was based on technology that humans had discovered decades ago, but never used. It was too dangerous, too indiscriminate. But desperate times called for desperate measures. Every ship in the Council Armada suddenly received the same signal. It was designed to look like background radiation, harmless and ignorable. But it wasn't harmless. It was a virus spreading through their computer systems, targeting one specific function: safety protocols. Throughout the Armada, fail-safes began to malfunction. Not all at once. Just small glitches, a warning light that didn't activate, a pressure valve that stuck, a temperature sensor that gave wrong readings. Engineers scrambled to fix the problems, but more kept appearing. Ships that had been perfectly maintained suddenly seemed to be falling apart. Reactors ran hot. Life support systems developed leaks. Navigation computers gave conflicting data. And over it all, human broadcasts played on every frequency. Psychological warfare designed to break morale. Videos of previous battles where humans had won against impossible odds. Fake intelligence suggesting that Earth had weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Messages promising that every Council soldier who died here would be forgotten by their own people. The Armada's advance stopped completely. Commanders argued about how to proceed. Some wanted to push forward despite the casualties. Others suggested retreat. The unity that the Council prided themselves on was cracking. Admiral Taeyang watched from Earth and gave the order. All ships advance. Let's finish this. The human fleet moved forward, not in formation, not following any traditional tactics. They spread out using the asteroid field for cover, striking from unexpected angles. Day 1 ships didn't try to win through superior firepower. They used every dirty trick in the book: ramming attacks, self-destruct ambushes, fake surrender signals, biological weapons, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons set to maximum yield, and they never stopped. Every time a human ship was destroyed, 2 more seemed to appear. Every time the Council forces adapted to a tactic, humans switched to something new. The battle lasted 3 days. It was brutal, chaotic, and nothing like the clean warfare the Council expected. It was street fighting in space. It was survival at any cost. On the 3rd day, the Torath fleet withdrew. They had lost 40% of their ships, and their commanders decided that humanity wasn't worth the cost. Better to protect their own worlds than die in someone else's war. The Krell lasted another day before they too retreated. They were methodical, calculating, and the calculations said they would lose if they continued. That left only the Vrelnath. Driven by pride and rage, they pushed forward even as their fleet disintegrated around them. They reached the inner system. They saw Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. And then General Wu Jin showed them what real defense looked like. Every orbital platform opened fire. Every hidden weapon activated. The moon itself lit up with cannons. Mars launched everything it had. The space around Earth became a web of fire and death. The Vrelnath fleet died. Not in a glorious last stand. Not in honorable combat. They died trapped in a kill zone, unable to advance or retreat, picked apart piece by piece until nothing remained. High Marshal Venth, commanding from his flagship, watched his fleet die for the second time. He had a choice. Keep fighting and die with honor, or surrender and live with shame. He chose to live. This is High Marshal Venth to the human fleet, he broadcast. We surrender. We request terms. Daewon let the message sit for a long moment. Then he responded. No terms, he said coldly. Power down your weapons. Disable your engines. Prepare to be boarded. If any ship tries to escape or resist, we will destroy the entire fleet. You have 5 minutes. Around Earth, the surviving Council ships complied. Over 700 vessels had entered the system. Less than 500 were still functional, and all of them were now prisoners. Admiral Tae Yang sent a message to the Galactic Council. Your armada is defeated. Your invasion has failed. Now we talk. But not as suppliants, not as criminals. We talk as equals. Or we take this war to every Council world and burn the galaxy down around us. The Council had no choice. They agreed to talks. Jiwoo returned to the Council chambers. But this time she didn't stand on the floor. She stood on a platform equal to theirs. And she wasn't alone. With her were Admiral Tae Yang, Admiral Daewon, and representatives from every human colony. The speaker tried to salvage some dignity. The Council acknowledges that hostilities have ended. We are willing to discuss terms of peace. No, Jiwoo said flatly. You don't understand. We're not here to discuss terms. We're here to dictate them. The chamber erupted in protest. But Jiwoo's voice cut through the noise. You tried to make us submit. We refused. You tried to destroy us. We survived. You sent an armada. We destroyed it. Now you will listen. She pulled up images on the main screen. Council worlds. Military bases. Government buildings. All marked with targeting data. We know where everything is, Jiwoo continued. Every installation. Every fleet. Every leader. We have ships in position throughout Council space. Ghost ships, invisible, waiting. One word from Earth and they attack. All of them, simultaneously. You wouldn't dare, someone said. Try us, Taeyang replied. You wanted monsters. You got them. And monsters don't bluff. The Council members looked at each other. Some were angry. Some were afraid. All of them knew the humans were serious. What are your demands? The speaker finally asked. First, complete sovereignty for all human worlds, Jiwoo said. No Council authority. No restrictions. No interference. Second, humanity gets 3 seats on the Council, with veto power over military actions. Third, the Vrelnath Empire pays reparations for Harvest Moon. Every credit, every life, every loss. Fourth, Council weapons restrictions are void. Humanity will defend itself however we choose. And finally, Jiwoo's voice went cold. Any race that attacks human interests in the future will be considered to have declared total war. No rules, no restraint, no mercy, we will destroy them completely. The demands were outrageous. They violated every principle the Council stood for. They made humanity equal to races that had existed for thousands of years. But the alternative was total war. And the Council had just learned what total war with humans looked like. We need time to consider, the speaker said. You have 1 hour, Jiwoo replied. After that, our ghost ships received their orders. 53 minutes later, the Council accepted. Every demand, every condition. Humanity was no longer a subject species. They were equals. More than equals. They were the enforcers. 5 years passed. The galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in centuries. Not because of diplomacy or civilization, because every species knew what happened if you provoked humanity. Raiders stopped attacking merchant ships. Border disputes were settled quickly. War became rare. The Council races learned to live with their fear. They made trade deals with humans. They even began to copy some human tactics. Not the brutal ones, but the effective ones. Admiral Daewon, now in his 50s, stood on the bridge of his ship looking at the stars. His hair was gray. His face was lined. The war had aged him. Do you think it was worth it? Hana asked. She was his executive officer now. Becoming monsters? Daewon thought about Harvest Moon, about the 200,000 dead, about all the battles they had fought, about the lines they had crossed. We didn't become monsters, he said finally. We always were monsters. We just pretended otherwise. The galaxy forced us to stop pretending. And now they fear us, Hana said. Yes. And because they fear us, they behave. They follow their own rules. They keep the peace. Not because it's right, because they're afraid of what happens if they don't. Below them, Earth turned peacefully. Human colonies thrived. Children grew up safe. The species survived. It had cost them their innocence, their illusions, their belief that civilization mattered more than survival. But they survived. In a conference room on Earth, new military officers were being trained. Lieutenant Yujung listened as the instructor explained modern galactic politics. Remember, the instructor said, the universe respects strength, not honor, not tradition strength and the willingness to use it without hesitation. What about being civilized? One young officer asked. The instructor smiled grimly. Civilization is what we have when everyone agrees to the rules. But never forget what we learned. In a universe of predators, being civilized just means being the first to die. So what are we? Another officer asked. We're the monsters that keep other monsters in check, the instructor replied. We're the species that's willing to go further than anyone else, to fight dirtier, to never surrender, to burn everything down if necessary. And if that makes us the bad guys? The instructor pulled up an image of Harvest Moon, the burnt colony, the memorial to 200,000 dead. Being the bad guy is better than being extinct, he said simply. The universe wanted a monster. We gave them one. And now they sleep safely because the monster is on their side. The class was dismissed. The young officers left to begin their careers. They would learn to fight dirty, to ignore rules, to win at any cost, because that was what humanity had become. Not heroes, not villains, just survivors who understood one simple truth. In a universe that rewards strength and punishes weakness, being civilized was a luxury humanity could never afford. The galaxy had peace now, but it was peace built on fear. Fear of what humanity would do if provoked. Fear of the monsters that used to pretend to be civilized. And somewhere in the darkness of space, human ghost ships continued their patrols. Invisible, vigilant, ready. The universe wanted a monster. It got one. And that monster would never ever let the galaxy forget what happens when you push humans too far.